We have moved into a different class now. This is a different chapter entirely. After completing this lesson, you should be able to do the following. Describe various types of functions available in SQL. Use character, number, and date functions in select statements. Functions make the basic query block more powerful, and they are used to manipulate data values. Now, look at this diagram. This is how function is. It is input, function, and output. So function perform actions. Now you supply a value to function. Function is going to manipulate that value and give you an output. That's what function does. Are you with me? Okay. Functions are very powerful features of SQL. They can be used to do the following: perform calculations on data, modify individual data items, manipulate output for groups of rows, format dates and numbers for display, convert column data types. We have two types of functions: single row functions and multiple row functions. Single row functions return one result per row. So you supply for each row that goes into the function, you will get an output. While in multiple row functions, return one result per set of rows. So you can take like 10 rows, pass it through these multiple row functions, and you get one single output at the other side. Now, this is single row function diagram. How many types of single row functions do we have? This is what you are looking at. We have character functions, date function, number function, conversion function, and general functions. Are you with me? Okay. Now, character functions. Meaning, I am going to explain each of these functions: character function, date function, number function, conversion function, general function. So single row function comprises of all these functions. Now, we take the first one, which is character functions. So these character functions, we have two types: case conversion functions and character manipulation functions. Under case conversion functions, we have lower, upper, init, cap. And then under these character manipulation functions, we have concat, which is the same thing as concatenate. Remember those concatenation operator? You remember that, right? But in this case now, it's a function, and the name is concatenation. Then we have substring. This is string, then substring, just as the name goes. So you are going to reduce whatever is the character value that is supplied. Then we have length. Length will help you count the total number of characters that are returned. We have in string. We are trying to locate a particular character in a set of, or in a word, or in a set. We have lpath, rpath, trim, and then we have replace. So these are all functions, and we are going to be using these functions in our query. So these functions will help your query to become very powerful. Before, we just do select star from this, and then the output will come out. But using these functions now, you'll be seeing certain ability and powers that your query can have. I'm going to start with the case conversion functions: the lower, the upper, the init, cap. Here, if I run this script query, it's showing me, look at the names: uppercase for the first letter, lowercase for the subsequent letters. This is how it is saved in the database. Email, everything is saved in uppercase. I don't know this initially. If I had not run this, if I had not executed this query, I would not have seen that this is how they are saved. Now, when I write a query like this, select star from employees. Are you seeing my screen? Where first name underscore equals king. If I write a query like this, it will not return any value. That's a first name. Okay. King is under last name. Stephen is the first name. So I'm changing it. Stephen. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
If I run this query, it will not return any value. It will not return anything. Let's run it. Can you see? It didn't return anything because there is no name in the database called Stephen. I told you that it is case sensitive. There is Stephen in the database, but that Stephen is spelled with capital S. But what I'm supplying here is Stephen with everything in lowercase. So it will not see anything. Now, how is this system working? What it does is that it will go to the employees table, and then it will bring out all these columns. You can see employee ID, first name, last name, email, phone number, hire date, job ID, salary, commission percentage. You can see that it returned all the columns, but then it will now ask each of these columns, employee ID, what do you have? Employee ID will supply. But you gave a condition here. You are saying return the employee that the first name is Stephen. So he's looking at first name. First name, what do you have as your the first row? The first row will return the value. It will check everything is in first letter capital, the last subsequent letters lowercase. Why? It will now compare it. So the Stephen that came, this is how the Stephen that came will come out. Let me show you. I'll copy this and I'll put it here. When he's bringing it, this is what it's going to bring. Hello. Okay. When he's going to bring it, this is what it will do. This is what he's going to see. Now, let's put this here. This is what he's going to see. That first name that was it first name? Yes, this first name. It will replace this first name with whatever value that the first name column has supplied. So first name column will supply Stephen. Now he's looking at Stephen equals to this, equals to mean he's going to compare this to this. Now, is this equal to this from what you are looking at? Are they the same?
No.
So they are not the same. That is why it is not going to return. When you look at it now, look at what you have here is Stephen. But what you have there is Stephen, and then it's comparing it to the Stephen as what is the value. So when he compares, he's not seeing, it's not the same. So it won't return anything. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's not going to return anything. Now, what will I now do to solve that problem? I don't have to go to the database to be checking to ensure that everything here must be uppercase. If I now put this one as S, as in cap lock, now it's going to return the value. Can you see? It's not going to return something. It returned two people. So there are two Stephen there because it's matching as cap lock. But what I'm supplying is small case, lowercase. Lowercase. It's not going to return anything. So what will I do? I will now pass this column that is in the where clause. I will now pass it to a function. That function is lowercase. So what will I will now say, I'll put this, I'll type lower. That is the function name. And then I'll put this in bracket. This is it. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm doing now. Now what happens is that when first name column supply its value, that value will be passed to this function. This function will convert everything in that value, all the characters in that value. It will convert it to lowercase before comparing it with what we have on this right hand side. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that is what will happen. Now it will give me, it will bring out output, because it will take this value, it will pass it to this function. This function will convert everything that is there to lowercase before comparing it with what is on the right hand side. Now it's going to return the value to us.
Okay.
Can you see? Can you see that it brought out value?
Yes.
So are you clear?
Yes, I'm clear.
Now, when I remove this, and I change this to Stephen in cap lock, Stephen, it will still, will it return value or not?
It's will.
Will it return value?
Yes.
Why will it return value?
Because they can. Oh, it won't go.
That is it. So that is it. So that is what I want to hear from you. It will not return any value. Why? Because there is nobody safe as Stephen cap lock, because it is case sensitive. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now I'm supplying the value like this, and yet I want it to return value. So what will I do? I will have to pass this my column name to another function. That function is called upper. So that function is called upper. Now I'll put this in brackets. I'll put this in bracket. See, I've used this first one, which is lower. Now I want to use upper. So now I am supplying this my column name to upper. What will happen now is that every value that comes, like that Stephen, is first letter, the first letter is uppercase. Subsequent letters are lowercase. But when I supply it to this upper function, upper will convert everything to uppercase and then compare it to what is on the right hand side, and the value will match and it will return those rows. Now when I run this, you see it brought out values, but it's going to give me the values exactly the way it is saved in the database. Get that again? Are you with me?
Just like waiting for the lower.
Yes. So the value is coming out from the database, is coming out the way it is in the database. That is how it is coming. But when I supply the value, when I supply this value for comparison, I was supplying it in uppercase. So if I don't pass the return column to a function, it will not bring out anything. But now I pass it to a column or to a function. This function is going to convert whatever comes to uppercase. So this Stephen is converted to uppercase, it will return it. This second Stephen converted to uppercase, then compare. So it matches and it will return it. But when it returns it, it's going to return it the exact way it is saved in the database. It's clear to you, right? Good. So that is that. Now, there is the third one there, which is the init cap. I'm going to use another column for that, which is this email. I'm going to use this email. Now, when I run this, you can see that all the email is saved in capital letter, right? So I am going to say select star from employees, where then I'm going to do this. I'm going to use the email, where email equals Eskin or Dustin. I'm going to type everything in small case. Dustin, which is this guy, number 6. That is David Austin. The email is D Austin, right? D Austin, that is the email. But it's saved in uppercase. Now, when I run this query, will it give me an output?
No.
Good. It will not return an output. See, it's not going to return anything. Good. Now you understand. So what do? I will have to supply this value that is coming, right? What function will I supply it to?
Lower.
To lowercase. That is very good. When I supply it to lowercase, to the lower function, lower, I'll put that in brackets. Then I run it again. It's going to give me, see, it brought out Austin. Now, I want to do this. I'm changing this D to cap lock, D Austin. So I am going to supply this email to another function called initscap.